Alright, morning everyone. Welcome back to Compound Interesting. This is going to be a really fun video because we're going to be analysing Tinder stock. Well, it's Match Group, which own Tinder, which makes up like half of Match.com, or sorry, half of Match, which also includes Match.com, Hinge, Plenty of Fish, and others, but we'll get through that. Before we get going, I just want to see if I'm matched with this little fresh oak here. So let's give it a try. No! Fuck you. Alright, so
Oh my god! He does it from. Oh my god!
Alright, moving swiftly on, we're gonna run through everything we need to know about Tinder. If it's good for you, if you should be using it, if it's the future of dating, not just Tinder, but online dating or app dating in general. If that is the future of the way people meet each other and interact and all that kind of good stuff. We're gonna go through its market cap, its valuation, and find out whether it's a good buy. So I have a lot of interesting points to get through in this video, so I did a bit of research, so I'd appreciate if you could smash the thumbs up button. And if you're a new subscriber, or sorry, if you're a new viewer, become a new subscriber by hitting that red button. And this is the last day you can enter my competition where I'm shipping out some of my favorite books to my subscribers because I recently hit 1,000 subs, so I'm really grateful for that. So if you want a chance of winning any of the books listed in the description box below, all you have to do is comment the book that you want, and you also have to be a subscriber. And I'll be releasing the winners in the next video. So for the last few videos I've been doing this. So I don't get many comments, so you have a really good chance of winning. So make sure you comment below with the book you'd like. So I want to spread that knowledge. So with all that said, let's get cracking straight into the video. So before we start analysing the stock, I want you to imagine the future 5-10 years down the road. How are people going to meet each other? Do you think the majority of people are going to meet in the real world, where you meet people at work or you meet people through friends of friends? I think that will still happen, but I think it'll be a surprising amount of people that will meet online, and that will be so normalized because it's already becoming normalized. I met the girl I'm seeing right now. Big shout out to my #1 fan. I know you're watching. Yeah, I met her on Tinder, funnily enough, and things are going great. But I want you to ask yourself, how are people going to meet and how is relationships going to start in the future? And in my eyes, the majority of them are going to start online, and I think Tinder will be the winner, or more than likely one of Match Group's subsidiaries. So here are the subsidiaries on the screen for you right now. So you can see Tinder is their big boy, so that's the one that's like growing at an insane rate. It's just such a beast right now. Match.com is like one of the original online dating website. Plenty of Fish, that's where you go if you want to get a fat bird, apparently. Not that I'd know. Hinge is really is growing at crazy rates, which we'll talk about. But since 2017, it's 10x the amount of users. And Hinge has actually been around for donkey's years. It's been around since 2011. Tinder acquired it and just made it into an absolute growth beast. And now, in Ireland anyway, Tinder and Hinge are the two most popular social dating apps. So I was listening to their conference call, and if you're looking for some short-term analytics on Tinder's growth or Match in general's growth, Match's older platforms like Plenty of Fish and Match.com grew in revenue for the first time in 4 years, which is great to see. So they're no longer lagging on the company, they're no longer dragging the company back. Tinder's like still a beast, performing really well. The ARPU, average revenue per user, briefly dropped during the start of COVID, but then shot back up to even higher levels than pre-COVID levels. So ARPU and subscriber growth is back increasing and back up higher than it was before COVID. So COVID probably spurred a lot of people to get on these dating apps because they have nothing else to do except swipe away and get those little dopamine hits from getting matches and maybe even meeting people. Tinder added video features so you can video chat with people and all that great stuff. So Tinder and the rest of the apps have a couple of ways that they can make money. So there's the likes of Tinder Gold or Tinder Premium and Hinge Premium, basically where you pay a subscription fee. Think like Spotify, like Netflix or whatever. You pay a subscription every month and you have unlimited swipes. You can rewind if you accidentally swiped a girl away. You can see all the girls that have liked you, so you can just instantly match with them, and your profile's boosted and all that kind of thing. Another way they make money is from ads. So Tinder shows ads. Hinge doesn't yet show ads, so there's still plenty of monetization potential for both of these apps. But Tinder does show ads, and I think this, and personally I think the advertisement potential is still enormous, because most legacy companies are still advertising on TV, spending enormous amounts on TV and stuff, and they're starting to switch over to like the likes of Facebook and Instagram and advertising there, because they realize they can make enormous bang for their buck advertising on social media. But I think it's still, a lot of companies haven't really switched on to the possibility of advertising on Tinder. So if you own your own business, I'd recommend maybe trying out advertising on Tinder, because it's probably going to be very good bang for your buck. Like, it'll be cheap for the amount of money that you could make from it if you have a solid business. Anyway, I think Tinder has plenty of room to grow in the advertising department and still in their subscriber growth department. So they have 60 million people using Tinder. So they're not paying users. So 60 million people use Tinder, or just like free members, and they have 6 million paying users on Tinder. So 10% of the users are actually paying users. So that was quite surprising. So let's compare the amount of users Tinder has to the likes of a more established social media network like Instagram. So Instagram has 1 billion users, whereas Tinder has 60 million users. So that's almost a 20x increase that Tinder has the potential to grow into. Now, granted, a lot of people on Instagram are maybe already in relationships, or are too old, or just aren't interested in relationships right now. But I just wanted to show you that, give you an idea of the amount of room that Tinder still has to grow. Like, the market is nowhere near saturated like it is for the likes of Facebook and Instagram. Facebook has well over 2 billion users. So I just wanted to show you a more younger social media platform. So 60 million users, still plenty of room to grow, still growing at a nice clip for Tinder. All right, so I'll give you a couple more points, and then we're going to get into the valuation, and I'm going to compare it to some other companies, and you might be surprised by what you find or what you hear in the valuation metrics. So as you can see here, the total revenue has been increasing at a 22% clip over the last 4 years. So compound annual growth rate of 22%, the average, which is really, really fast and really, really strong growth. Operating income up 27%, and EBITDA up 25%. So some really, really exceptional growth. And this is for Match.com. This isn't just for Tinder. Tinder by itself is performing much better, actually, in a growth perspective. Now here's a chart of the total subscribers across all of Match's platforms. So including Match.com, Hinge, Tinder. So these are all paying subscribers. So 10 million in total across all their platforms. And the dark blue is North America, and light blue is international markets. So you can see international markets are growing a bit faster than the North American market. So maybe the North American market's getting a little bit saturated, or needs a bit more of investment. So here's the statistics.
Check the statistics
for revenue for Tinder by itself as a standalone company, and you can see it's absolutely fucking smashing. 123% compound annual growth rate, which is insane. And the subscriber growth been growing at 44% compound annual growth rate since the last couple of years. So absolutely phenomenal growth as well. And the ARPU has increased 40%, average revenue per user. So that's not going to grow as fast as the number of subscribers, because it's hard to get people to pay more and more and more. But still, that's impressive. 40% more spent per user on their platform. Growing that much is very impressive.
Oh my god! Wow! Oh my god!
So I always want to see that. You want to see subscriber growth as well as ARPU growth. If one of these has stalled, it's not going to be growing the revenue as fast. So you want to always see these two, preferably you want to see both of them increasing at a nice clip. Alright, so now I want to draw some comparisons between Tinder and some of its competitors, and also not as competitors, but people in the same revenue model. Okay, so first we'll compare Tinder to Bumble. This is Tinder's biggest competitor. Definitely in North America anyway, Bumble's very popular. I know in Ireland it's not really that popular, it never really took off. But Bumble is actually planning to go IPO soon. So Tinder's market cap is, well, sorry, not Tinder's market cap, but Match's market cap is $28 billion. And Bumble is planning to IPO at around $6 to $7 billion. So Bumble has a revenue of $240 million per year. So this gives a revenue multiple, or price to sales ratio, which is the metric that I always like to look at for high growth industries or high growth companies, which both of these are. These are fast growers who aren't really making very much money. So price to earnings ratio is less important for me than a price to sales ratio. Price to sales gives me a better idea of the valuation. So Bumble's price to sales ratio when they go IPO will be 28. So that's a really high price to sales ratio. Whereas Match's price to sales ratio is 4. So better from a valuation perspective, although Bumble is a much faster grower than, well, not a much faster grower, but because Match Group also has Match.com and other subsidiaries which aren't such fast growers, it kind of makes sense why it would have a lower price to sales ratio. If Tinder were a standalone company, however, I think a much higher price to sales ratio would be fair. However, there should not be such a big discrepancy between these price to sales ratio. So 4.3 for Match.com compared to 28 for Bumble. All right, now I want to compare Tinder to Spotify and Netflix. And you might ask why. And the reason is because both use a paying subscriber model. So first, let's give you the stats on Tinder. Has 6.2 million paying subscribers, and Match.com, or sorry, not Match, I keep saying Match.com, I mean Match Group, like the group that owns all those different dating apps and dating websites, has 10.1 million subscribers. So 10.1 million subscribers for a market cap of $28 billion. Now, let's have a look at Spotify. Spotify have 138 million premium people paying for premium Spotify, and they have a market cap of 45 billion. All right, so now let's compare it to Netflix. So Netflix have 192 million paying subscribers, paying $10 a month, just like Tinder pays. It's about $10 a month as well. So that's why I kind of wanted to compare these. Same price per month per user, but it has a market cap of 208 billion. So how are we going to compare these? So I'm going to divide the market cap by the number of paying users, and we'll discover how much you're paying in market cap for each user. So $28 billion in market cap divided by 10 million users equals $2,800. So you're paying $2,200 per user on Tinder if you're buying into Tinder stock, just so you know. But these are just current subscribers and doesn't include all the free users and people who are going to come on board over the next number of years. But I just want to give you a picture on how much you're actually paying for each user. Now let's do the same for Netflix. So for Netflix, you're paying 208 billion divided by 192 million paying subscribers. You're paying just over $1,000 per subscriber. So a little bit cheaper. Now let's go to Spotify. Spotify has 138 million paying subscribers and a market cap of $45 billion. So for Spotify, we have the winner in this metric anyway. So Spotify, you're paying $326 per user on the platform, per paying user on the platform. So when I kind of dug into this, and yeah, this is a bit of a weird way to value a company or how to analyze and come up with a valuation for a company. Probably no one else kind of thinks in these kind of ways, but this is a handy way that I think makes sense. I think this is a useful way to compare different subscription model business models. So when I saw these statistics or when I saw these results, I'm kind of like, okay, actually I want to go out and buy way more Spotify. It's definitely way undervalued. So Spotify have a price to sales ratio of 5. Match.com has Matchgroup.com. Jesus Christ. Match Group has a price to sales ratio of 4.3, and Netflix has the highest price to sales ratio of 9.46. So yeah, definitely Spotify, one of my biggest positions, and researching a different company has made me more bullish on Spotify. But anyway, let's move on. So is it fair to be paying such a high price for premium subscribers? We also have to take into account that Tinder also makes money from ads. Spotify also makes money from ads, but it's like 10% of their revenue is from ads. However, Tinder actually makes money from ads, and Netflix doesn't make money from ads at all. So just keep that in mind. Also remember, Tinder or Match Group is growing pretty fast. However, Spotify and Netflix are also growing at pretty nice clips as well. So maybe the first warning sign in investing in Match.com. Everything else has looked great. But yeah, if you're looking for a long perspective, let's have a quick look at the stock price, because I think that would be good. So as you can see, it's been an absolute beast recently. It's shot up all the way to $100, and it's a market cap of $29 billion. So I think right now, in a short-term perspective, it's priced a little bit richly. However, if it drops like back to where it was, maybe the $50, $60, and if you're looking at from a long perspective, 5 to 10 years out, when everyone is meeting online, like young people right now love using Tinder, love using Hinge, love using all those apps, and most of them are going to meet using one of those apps in the future, in my opinion, and they're not really in their peak earning years. So once they get into their peak earning years, Tinder and Hinge will be able to get more money out of them. More of those users will turn into paying users. So when that becomes more normalized, and when because most people on Tinder are 18 to 24 year olds, so once they get into their peak earnings years, advertisers will pay more to show ads to older people who have more money, and likewise they'll be more likely to what's a tenner a month? I can spend a tenner a month. I want to find a girlfriend or a wife or a husband or whatever, so I'm willing to pay €10 a month, no problem to do that. And yeah, Tinder, all those social dating apps, definitely gives you a much wider pool of people that you can choose from and select, and potentially find someone that you wouldn't have found otherwise, because the traditional method, you have a much smaller group of people to choose from. We have to analyze whether that's actually a good thing or not, but I think, yeah, there are definitely upsides and definitely some downsides to Tinder or any sort of social dating app, but it's very hard to meet people in the real world unless you're always going out to bars and meeting people in social events. You have to really step out your game, so you really have to step outside your comfort zone. But if you're a busy person who has work and has to go to the gym, all that kind of thing, sometimes it's hard to socialize in new circles and find someone that way. So maybe a social dating app is useful in that sense. However, we have to remember that Tinder is not really good for your brain, and it's highly addictive. So people who go on Tinder generally open the app, who are active users, who are active on Tinder, the average time they'll open the app is 4 times per day. So I don't know if you've seen The Social Dilemma, but just like all those other apps, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Tinder is extraordinarily addictive. And the reason it's so addictive is because it kind of plays on our hunter-gatherer evolutionary minds, where it just rewards us with dopamine. Every time you see a pretty girl on Tinder, you get a dopamine release. And just like slot machines, when you swipe right to see whether or not you're going to match, you get a really huge dopamine hit. And then if you match, then you get more dopamine. So it's just like a slot machine. Oh, am I going to get the match? Oh, am I not going to get the match? Oh, she messaged me. So it's extraordinarily addictive. And because it preys on your hunter-gatherer mind, because as a hunter-gatherer, you're likely to only be exposed to maybe 100 females who are of the same kind of age as you in your entire life. Whereas in Tinder, you can see 100 different females in the space of an hour. So for that reason, maybe there's some drawbacks and it's not very healthy. And I also saw a statistic where I also saw this statistic of like apps that make you happy and apps that make you unhappy. And unfortunately for Tinder, it wasn't on the happy side anyway. So let's have a look. So the number one most unhappy app on the right there is Grindr. So Grindr is basically Tinder for gay guys. But as we can see, number 9, Tinder that makes you unhappy. And just for your information, the apps that make you the most happy: number 1, Calm; number 2, Google Calendar. These are the kind of people who use the app. Maybe it's not causation, it's just correlation, that people who are the happiest are likely to use these apps, and people who are the unhappiest are likely to use these apps. But I'm not really sure if there's a way to prove whether or not Tinder actually makes you unhappy. But once I saw this statistic, I went out and straight away downloaded Calm and started using it for a few months, and I need to get back into the habit. But yeah, it's just a meditation app. But I also, at that time, I deleted Tinder because, yeah, just thought it was bad for me. So yeah, ups and downs for Tinder and all those social dating apps. So let's finally run through the last few points. So I want to run you through the balance sheet and my closing thoughts and the growth projections for Tinder. So there's this mindset in the US anyway that Tinder is for hookups and Bumble is for dating. So Tinder is just if you want a quick one night stand, and Bumble is if you actually want to get a girlfriend. And I know in Ireland anyway, Bumble is not very popular, but Hinge is becoming the one that people go on if they want to try and find a girlfriend or a boyfriend, or go on serious dates and not just try and, have a one night stand or whatever. So Hinge, I think, has enormous potential, and as I said, super fast grower. It's 10x the amount of users since 2017, and the average revenue per user is up 60% year over year. So they're just switching on the revenue for Hinge. So Hinge could be an absolute beast in the future, and Tinder could be the more hookup kind of vibe on that social app, and Hinge is a little bit more classy. So just FYI, quickly I'll talk about the balance sheet. 3 billion in cash on the balance sheet, so that's pretty good. Current liabilities 1 billion, and so that's the liabilities that's due within 1 year. So this year they have to pay 1 billion out, but they have enough cash obviously. And long-term debt, they also have 3.1 billion in long-term debt. So that means their balance sheet, just in those metrics, adds up to minus 1 billion. So I always like to add those up and find out if they have extra money on the balance sheet or if they have negative money on the balance sheet. And if they have negative money on the balance sheet, I add that to the market cap in my mind. So say the market cap's 10 and they owe out an extra billion. Now the market cap's 11 and they're debt free. Essentially, when you're buying into that company, you have to pay that extra billion in debt. So you might as well just add it to the market cap, and vice versa. Say the company's market cap is 10 billion, but they have 5 billion in cash and no debt. Then in my mind, I think, okay, you're buying this company for 5 billion because you have the market cap, which is 10 billion, and you have that 5 billion in cash. So essentially you're paying 5 billion for the company. Now Match has pretty nice growth. Here's a graph of their growth for the last few years. So as you can see, kind of averaged around 20% with a big jump in Q1 of 18, up all the way up to 35%, and now it's dropping back down again to that 10% range because of COVID. But I think this will turn around. And the analysis for Tinder is 14% growth this year and 18% growth the year after that. So probably like 15% growth for the next few years, which is pretty strong growth, but not absolutely spectacular anyway. So in conclusion, am I going to be going out and buying Match.com? And the answer is I'll probably make an initial position. If some of you have been following me for a while, I like to do this. If there's a company I like, but maybe the valuation's a bit high, I'll just buy a small amount and track it a bit closer. And if there's a nice dip, then I might add it into my position and track it a bit more closely. Because if you want to follow a company, the best way, in my opinion, is to put some skin in the game. So even if you put a very small amount, I'll probably buy one share at $100, but I don't want to lose $100, so I'm definitely going to be tracking that and keeping an eye on Match. So there's a few things I don't really like this isn't a 10 out of 10. I can't wait and run out and buy this company, so that's why I'm not putting loads of money into it. However, at the same time, there's enormous potential, plenty of room to grow, grab way more users in the future, and basically take over the process of meeting people, because in my eyes this is likely to be the way people meet in the future. And I think Match has the best experience with it, so I don't think any competitors are going to come and take the number one spot from Tinder unless they're actually owned by Match Group, because Match Group can acquire them or use the skills that they've learned or the tactics that they've learned with all their other dating apps. Because once they got Hinge on board, Hinge was doing very little for 4 or 5 years. Then Hinge was acquired by Tinder, and then you saw the results. Hinge just absolutely, Match just showed them how to actually grow their revenue, grow their users, and overnight, Hinge has just become such a beast recently. So from a very long perspective, I think this is a buy. In the short term, it looks a little bit frothy price-wise. So that's my conclusion on Match.com. So if you liked the video, please hit the thumbs up button, subscribe, make sure to subscribe. I really hope you enjoyed the video. I really hope you learned something. And make sure to enter your last chance to win one of these books. I'll send it to you via Amazon or whatever. So yeah, comment below with one of those books. And thank you so much for watching, and I really hope you enjoyed. Cheers.